Hi lovely family, welcome to your favorite cooking channel, Cooking with Abba. Today we're going to be making something special. I don't know if you've heard of pork yemwadie. Yes, so we're going to be making okra stew, but we're going to be making it with pork okra stew. Yes, and this is not just the pork meat, but we're using the pork liver in there as well, a little bit of the intestine as well, just to also add up to it. So yes, this is your pork liver, this is your pork meat, a bit of the pork skin in there as well. So for my okra stew, yes, I need my ayoyo in there. Then I have my okra, which is grated. It was a bit frozen, but don't mind. You just take it off the freezer and let it thaw. So you can just prep your okra like that. If you're not going to use it that day, just keep it in the freezer, grate it and put it in the freezer. Whenever you're ready, let it thaw. Then you can work. And like I always say, we want to do okra and want it very slimy and save your time. You need to put your hot water onto your okra and then let it sit, so that by the time you get to the incorporating side, it is already virtually kind of cooked in there as well, and that gives you very slimy okra as well. So I'm just going to fold that up as well to keep the heat in there as well. Then I have my spices, which I'm going to work with a lot of local mixed spices in there as well, just to give you that natural taste in there. All of it can be found in the description button below. Yes, do check them out. And you can't do pork without bay leaves. It's not going to be nice pork at all, so that also goes in there as well. Then I'm going to blend the spice up a bit just to crush it, because if you blend it with the other vegetables, you may not get a good result. This is the bell pepper. Usually we throw the seeds away, but the seeds is also good when you're spicing meat. So the bell pepper, usually I take the skin and I take the seeds separate as well. Then I add in my pepper to your taste. If you want it very hot, more pepper. Then I have my garlic. Then the onions also goes in as well, and then you can blend. Personally, I don't really love okra with tomatoes in that much. Yes, but if you like tomatoes, 1 or 2 can go in there as well. It's not going to cut it. Yes, don't use too much, just 1 or 2 is okay in there. Just I personally like my okra with just onion, pepper, garlic and some ginger and no tomato, so it's up to you as well. So I'm going to blend this till it is very smooth. Then it's going to go onto my pork base, but before that I also added a bit of beef in there. Yes, beef always helps your okra smell nice as well. So once those goes in, I'm just going to pour my mixture, the blended mixture, onto the pork, and then make sure that every part of it has enough of the mixture in there, and the salt in. Yes, you need to add salt when you're blending it, so that everything goes in once. You don't waste time. Yes, if you don't pour it into the mixture too, you can pour it directly once it goes in. If you don't take care and forget the salt, it's going to be very flat. So once you pour the mixture in as well, pour your salt and then mix for every part of it to have that that blend you have in there, the spice blend you have in there, and you're going to let this steam by itself, so that the flavor and everything goes into the pork. Before you add any water, let the flavor and things go into the pork, and it's just going to generate its own water in as well. So you realize I've not added any water, but then now you see the water coming out, because the pork kind of had a bit of water because I froze it. It was frozen pork, and so there was a bit of water and moisture in. So yes, you need to cook this till it is soft or to your liking before you continue with adding the okra and all those ones in. If it's very hard, you have to let it cook for a while to soften. Let it soften and get to the place you'd want it before you continue to add in the okra and all those ones. So usually you just have to just check and then be mixing it up. Yes, and have it in portions, which is going to work for you as well. And I didn't want this to be overly thick, so I added in just a little bit of water. Then I added in some Kako. You know that thing. I want to have a bit of Kako, a bit of beef, and then I added in some palm oil as well, because I was not doing green okra stew. I was doing yes, the normal palm oil type. Then I just place it in and then let it also cook. Yeah, so this is a one pot style okra stew in there. I'm just going to let it also cook and then join together beautifully. Ordinarily, you'd have cut your onions, poured it into your oil, you put your Kako and all those things, fried before you add in the blended base in there. But now I'm reversing the process and integrating it. When I checked, the salt was still a bit down, so I added in more salt just to balance it off. Yes, because once my okra goes in, I'm not going to add any more salt. Yes, so I need to check all that before it goes. And you realize how slippery and slimy this is. Yes, so that goes in as well once that everything is put or coming together. And you see how beautiful this okra stew is looking. And yeah, I cannot see. So yes, I'm just going to mix this up and then get the okra in all the corners in there as well. And this is your simple one pot okra stew. Wait, or bread wait, instant way before you realize you are done. Once you prep your things and you have all of them set, within 30 minutes your okra stew or soup is done. And this was not even a small quantity, this was a big quantity, a big batch. And so you realize that you can save time doing the things you love, but doing it smartly in ways which reduces the cooking time, and that also gives you more time to spend with the family and do other activities as well. So I'm just going to let this cook a little bit for all of it to augment and then balance it off. Yes, that they all come in together beautifully. Then I add in the last thing, which is the ayoyo. Once you add the ayoyo, you can decide to put the fire off, then the heat in there will just cook it off or just soften it up, especially when you're going to freeze or you're going to keep it in the fridge. But if you're going to eat it instantly, you can just let it sit on the fire for just a few seconds or a minute or two for it to also soften up or cook perfectly in there. Then your fire goes off. But make sure that once your okra goes in, your fire is reduced to the barest minimum. And because okra too, if you don't, some will say don't mix, don't stir, don't do this, but if you don't stir your okra, sometimes you may end up finishing and then some of the okra is sitting at the base. Meanwhile, this is not something that there's supposed to be kanzo in there. So this is your beautiful pork okra stew, your one pot okra stew. This one, you can just ask those who actually tasted in there. It was just because it was tasting good. Like, it tasted good, and then it saved time when it was cooking, and it was very simple. And when you're done, you don't have plenty things to wash as well. And this is like the way to go, especially for the working class currently, where you don't have so much time to be cooking for hours and hours and hours and hours. So once you're done, you can dish this out and then enjoy with the family. Yes, so you realize it's still slimy. Depending on how slimy you like it, you check the water. If you want it overly slimy, you don't need to incorporate the extra water I added, and you can even reduce the quantity of water you use in blending as well. That's going to give you more fine or more thick kind of okra. And you can also decide to dice your okra instead of grating it to get it chunky in there. So it depends on how you also like your okra. If you want it chunky, you can cut it and then have it in there as well. And so this is your one pot okra recipe. Yes, this is how the liver actually is. The pork liver is. Then for me, I ate it with my etel, and the meat, you realize it was also soft. Yes, in there. So till I see the next food video, do live life to the fullest, be joyous, be merry. Till I see you, lots of love from my team and I. Mwah, mwah, mwah.